Yes, welcome to the Variety Hour, coming to you on a Thursday afternoon, and the day that we have learnt that Etihad Stadium is changing its name, and joining me, a superhero in his own right, with the magical power of being able to make people laugh. It's Danny McGinlay.
Hey, does that make me the Joker, the Riddler, Deadpool? Not if you've seen the new one.
Oh, I haven't seen the new one. Have you seen it?
I didn't like the first one. So.
Didn't you?
No, he was like Poochie. You know, then when Itchy and Scratchy brought in that dog that was voiced by Homer.
Well, controversial right off the start.
Yeah, let's go. These are my opinions on all superhero films.
We should begin by thanking our supporters, everyone who listens, and those that have become financial supporters. We should also mention...
when you say that, it's like at the start of a Virgin flight, and they go, "We'd like to thank our Velocity members." And
that's right.
I always take my time to go, "That's me."
That's me.
Thanks,
yeah,
Scott.
I hope everyone who is a member just has a little warm glow when I say that, because we're very appreciative of them. I should also add, as I've mentioned before, I'm doing gigs the 6th of June at the Comics Lounge in Melbourne. These are the comedy festival shows I do, which sold out all towards the end, so it's an encore show. And in Adelaide on the 7th, which is a Thursday night, and that one is getting very close to being sold out. So thank you, Adelaide. Frontier Touring is the website you can go to get tickets to all of that. I'll put the link in the show notes. You got any shows coming up?
Oh, probably, but none that I get any cut of the door of. So
play on. You don't care. That's the mercenary approach.
Yeah. Oh, no, let's save the plugs for when it's going to totally benefit us.
Make you a huge amount of money.
That's right.
So this morning I woke up and checked the calendar that it wasn't April 1st.
So did I.
I think everyone did thing. Because it's been announced that Melbourne Stadiums Limited, which is the owner of
Docklands Stadium.
Docklands Stadium, or Etihad Stadium as it's currently known, and which is owned by the AFL.
Okay.
Have struck up a new naming partnership, and so this will take over from Etihad with the Walt Disney Company, and the stadium will become now known as Marvel Stadium, as in Marvel Comics and Marvel the movies. And so I read this and went, is there a greater clash of what a stadium is compared to what it's called? Like, this is not... The Etihad Stadium is the least marvellous place I think I've ever been to.
All right, MCC. All right, you Demons fan who only go to the MCG and you see Docklands as this little boutique hub.
Boutique suggests quality.
Okay.
I don't even see it as boutique.
Shed where us plebs are forced to play.
It's a soulless, horrible stadium.
I like it better than the MCG. It is home. I've had many great memories there.
That's Stockholm syndrome.
No.
How many premierships have you won at Etihad Stadium?
Same amount as we've lost. We are undefeated in grand finals.
I genuinely think Etihad Stadium is the worst stadium for AFL in the country.
Okay, you've clearly not been to Homebush.
Since ANZ Stadium stopped being used, I was going to say. Which is because we don't use it anymore.
Well, okay. So have you been to the Gabba? Have you been to Metricon?
I haven't been to Metricon. Okay, I should add. So Metricon, but I've been to all the others. I've been to Spotless.
What's so bad about it?
Everything.
I'll need something better.
The size
for this
of the ground makes it the footy there's terrible. The surface is like, one of the worst. It's like sand with someone spray painted green.
Have you played on it?
No.
That was a complaint like a decade ago.
It's still a complaint. The other day when they were playing, I was watching it and there's sand coming off the ground. Like the surface has never been good. Trying to get in and buy a ticket is one of the hardest things you can do sometimes.
Well, if you're a club member, you can just walk in.
Well, of course,
support
but that's I'm a club member, but when you go to, the other way, it's all, when I bought tickets to a game that Melbourne aren't playing, I remember I printed off, the printer broke, so I couldn't print off. So I turn up, they sent me to about 8 different places. And I'm not alone here. Like, getting into Etihad is a nightmare. That's where I'm hiding out if a war starts, because it's so hard to get into.
That's it. I do like to walk around the suburb of Docklands and just pretend the zombie apocalypse has happened.
Yeah, because it pretty much is like that. So, anyway, there's my rant about Etihad Stadium. So
let's talk about Marvel versus... first of all, it's Marvel Stadium, which is brilliant. I think there would be right now a studio begging a certain stadium in Jollymont to call itself the DCG.
Oh, God, DCG.
That's so we can get it all. I mean, there's going to be the thing I'm worried about is that this is clearly a big move by Disney and they want to have a lot of, they've said, fan activation zones.
Yeah, so they're going to have a Marvel store in there.
Because when your team's losing by 10 goals, you want to just go in and do some cosplay. I'd like to be Black Panther because he doesn't support the kangaroos. It's gonna, I reckon they'll rename the Locket End the Tony Stark End.
It's just
anyone who gets injured will be classified as Thor.
I guess you could argue that the scriptwriters at the AFL come up with as fanciful stuff as the ones that write the Marvel movies, basically.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, GWS is pretty much like the Avengers. Just
send all the...
Gillan McLaughlin just wandered around the draft going, I'm putting together a team.
Yeah, I think that's right. This is, look, who cares? I mean, it's good money in it. Look, it probably is a good...
It's made, CNN have already done a story about it. They put the wrong Etihad Stadium in the photo, though. They put Manchester City's stadium.
So I think it's who really cares? I think it's absolutely fine. Like, I think the kids will love it.
Yeah,
I think there's a bunch of things that actually will play really well for all involved. So.
And look, actually, I did, because I put this on Facebook just with a few dumb jokes.
Yeah.
And someone did say, this is bullshit. I'm always going to call it Etihad. And I'm just going.
Do you always call it colonial?
Exactly.
This.
It's 18 years old. This is its fourth name.
Yeah.
When it changed from Telstra Dome, I just went, all right, I'm going to call it Docklands from here on in because that's just easier.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of fun. I mean, also, can you just change the name sporadically to promote whatever films come out?
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Avengers Arena, Stadium of S.H.I.E.L.D., Charles Xavier Stadium for Gifted Youngsters. Yeah. There's some good stuff in there.
Well, I'm waiting for... Because Disney owns Star Wars as well.
They do, yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of things they could potentially... The Muppets. The thing about it is...
I'm doing the great thing. This is a great joke sent in by my mate Miles. He commented, because it's a Marvel stadium, after most of the crowd has left and the teams have sung their songs, if you stick around, there'll be a fifth quarter played.
My favourite bit this morning, this is not a good joke. I did it purely just for my own amusement.
Was this the troll you told me about?
Yeah, so I decided, I tweeted out something about the new Marvel stadium, looking forward to what they can how they can integrate Batman and Superman into the day, knowing that they're not Marvel, that they're DC.
Yeah, of course.
And I just put it out there knowing that there would be some comic fans out there who just would not be able to resist.
How many bites did you get?
I got quite a few.
Yes!
People going, ooh, well, they're DC. And I'm just like, guys, read the tweet. What do you think I'm doing that for, It's one of my favourite things to do.
There's also mid-strength beers will now be called Iron Man 2s because it's the weak one. Yeah,
that's a really deep dive of...
I just think the problem is that a lot of the Marvel films are really good, so I've been racking my brain for what can we bag out here, but there's no Batman v Superman, there's no Ben Affleck.
I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was seen as not great.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was seen as not as good as the first. So
when St Kilda sack Alan Richardson, do you think they'll call it a reboot? Footy department. It
is going to. What I'm.
Stan Lee going to appear in every game.
Yeah, yes, there's a cameo. The one negative thing about this, I would say, is going to be listening to the Channel 7 commentators try and work in superhero stuff into the commentary.
I love that there's going to be some producer
so awkward.
Explaining to BT, no, you can't say Superman because that's a different company. Yeah, what about Batman? No, you can't do Spider-Man. Yeah, Spider-Man's fine. I love Tobey Maguire. Okay, they don't have the rights to that one. There's been 2 other Spider-Man. We got to bring in some nerds. And this is the other thing. It said in The Guardian, there was all these comments going, the nerds have won. We own your stadium.
Is it really nerdy anymore? Because it's the biggest movie. Yeah, I think the new one's the 5th biggest movie of all time. So it's hardly a fringe.
Exactly.
Kind of. It's a massively mainstream movie. There would be few people that haven't seen a Marvel movie in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's so not nerd culture anymore.
Well, it's for a brief few minutes, Lord of the Rings was cool, and then they finished the movies, and we all went, okay, done. And they go, do you want hobbits? Nah. We moved on.
Those are 47 hours of those first 3 movies was enough for me. So I'm just looking forward to some other stadiums getting named along those lines. I want some entertainment tie-ins. I would like Arrested Development Stadium, more in my sort of what I watch. That'd be a lot better.
Who would play there? Gold Coast?
That's right. It's just a comedy of errors. We should... so going north now from after Marvel, Dame Beams announced yesterday he's stepping down as Brisbane captain. Not a lot of jokes here. I'm just going to warn you at the start.
Let's fly through this pretty quick.
But very notable. And I've met Dane Beams. Dane Beams I came away with very impressed with when I met him. He lost his father, Philip, to cancer in March. Now, he moved up to Queensland from the Pies, I think, to be closer to his family.
Yeah,
so this has been sort of a thing that's been in his life for some time and has impact on his footy before. And he's decided that after, struggling since March, that really the captaincy was just a bit too much for him.
Fair enough.
And he said, I feel like it's in the best interest for myself and my family that I hand over the captaincy to Dane Zorko indefinitely. Obviously, the last 3 months for myself, I'm not going to lie, they've been bloody difficult and I've experienced some really bad lows. I think footy's been hard for me because I associate football with my father, so it feels like a big chunk of my football life is missing at the moment. So I just feel like I need some time to find where I belong in the game and just find my feet again and find my love for the game again. So what I've been liked about this, if you can like anything out of it, sad news about this, is everyone's reacted like, yeah, good on you. Like there's been no negative backlash. Everyone's just gone, this is a very sensible decision.
Yeah, but Footy Show hasn't gone away yet, so wait for Sam Newman to...
fair enough, yeah, you're waiting for someone
You weak bastard. I killed my father and then played 4 quarters the next day.
But I think that makes a lot of sense. Also the other thing is, being a captain in the AFL, it's a lot of extra work. And some players, I think, just, they're better off. It doesn't help them.
It could be good if he needed distraction, and just wanted to focus on work. But if everything reminds him of his dad, then fair enough.
Yeah, that's right. So, just
on that, Dane Zorko sounds like a Marvel Cinematic Universe character. If Guardians of the Galaxy are battling Dane Zorko.
So they've just swapped Danes.
Yeah, they have. What an age we live in.
That's right. Every team should have a couple of Danes on the shelf.
Can someone tweet in, is it true, this happened a couple of years ago, it was the first time in the AFL's history there was no listed player with the first name John. And that happened 2 years ago. I wonder if it's still the case. Yeah, no, that's
true.
Is that still the case?
Well, it was true. Was it John or Michael or something? It was a name.
It was John.
Because so when that happened, that story came out, and I can't remember who did the story. One of the newspapers or something did the analysis and stuff. And so Gillon McLachlan was doing a Twitter Q&A.
Oh, and you asked him.
And I said, what under your reign, for the first time ever, we don't have a John, what are you doing about it? And he did a video reply.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can't remember what he said. It was funny. He was like...
He's a funny man.
But, so it was a great...
So we've
got 100 Danes. How many Jacks would we have?
There's a fair few.
It's like Australia just went all in on Jacks about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
20, 25 years ago.
Because Jackson was big for a while.
Yeah, Jack was the number one even up to recent years. It's going
to be a few players called Oliver soon. That's the go-to.
Is that the new one, is it?
Yeah, Oliver, Matilda. These are pretty common names yelled across the playground.
Matilda's going to be the big AFLW one in about 10, 20 years, if the AFL don't screw up the AFLW, which is,
I hear
jury's out.
All those blokes who are going to coach are going to do really well.
Yeah. Isn't it great that the AFLW has provided more opportunities to blokes?
Yeah.
It's so mad.
Well, no, to be fair, they offered Beck Goddard a dual role. She could coach the women and make the tea.
And then they've given it a full-time role to a bloke. It's just...
What are you doing?
It's so bad on every level, the whole thing. Just the pure look of it is terrible, and then you drill into some of it and you're just like, it's like what they go, there's no women that could do it. You're like, hang on, a woman won the first one as coach.
We're 50-50 on gendered premierships.
If you're the AFL, why wouldn't you come in and just go, look, we'll sort this out because we're not going to do this forever, but while it's being established, we're going to set up a fund to, be able to keep women around in coaching positions, especially the ones that have proven themselves.
Yeah. Why, if you're the Crows, do you not want a premiership coach being your men's ruck coach as well? It's not like, she's going to know what she's doing in that. Why wouldn't you want her as a special coach?
I think they don't really believe that.
They don't believe it?
Well, why else would they have...
I'm glad you lost the grand final, Adelaide, you misogynists.
I just think they hate women. That's the only conclusion you can realistically...
I hear they're trying to sign Pepper Powell.
Yeah, that's right. That was it. Now, in the sign that the AFL is now completely lost it under Steve Hocking, we had the competition committee, which got announced not that long ago, which is a bunch of people it's got Eddie Maguire, it's got a bunch of chair persons or club presidents on it. It's got a few CEOs. It's got a few...
Doesn't it just reek of the Stonecutters from The Simpsons?
Yeah,
just
totally.
This secret society.
So they set up that, and that's to look at a whole bunch of things. So they're looking at stuff like the mid-season trade period and all this sort of stuff. And basically it's a stakeholder committee that they can say, oh, well, these guys all ticked off on it. And then it was very roundly criticised because it's the same old people. Look,
Is Beck Goddard on that list?
Of course not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Peggy O'Neill's on it. I think one or two women are on it, but that's it.
Anyone from...
Maybe no, I think just Peggy's the only woman on it.
Is there anyone from a club that's not one of the big 5 Melbourne ones in the Swans?
I think there is one or two. There's like Geelong, Collingwood. I think there might be one or two interstate. I know the Swans weren't on it.
Anyone from Bulldogs, Kangaroos?
I think a couple.
Someone who owned a dog is on.
But there's still, it might. I'm not sure if Gordon went on it, but you ring him and ask him. I just can't remember. I remember we did this a few weeks ago, and I'm trying to remember who was on it. But anyway, it was criticised for that. This new one is going to be called the Look of the Game Committee.
Ah, the LOTGC.
It's ridiculous.
The Look of the Game Committee.
It's just, and this is...
Why not just call it the Vibe?
The Vibe Committee. So this new arm of the so it's going to be a new arm of the competition committee.
Oh, good.
So it's not its own committee in a way; it's a subcommittee of the other committee. And he said it's not going to just include former players, but also several media personalities are set to be asked to join.
Grant Denyer.
The first one they said is Mike Sheehan.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
So
Limo, he gets all the other jobs.
So far they've got Mike Sheehan, they've apparently asked Lee Matthews, and the other one is Malcolm Blight. So Malcolm Blight, I think, has said yes.
Man, you imagine that was a dinner party though. Like how much you put on the special, a couple of glasses of single malt for everyone. Those 3 have stories.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to join the committee for that.
So it's now looking at, he's saying they're not just looking at long gone or recently retired AFL players, that they're also looking at reaching out to journalists and commentators. So that means you and I are almost dead set certain is to get on this.
This is good.
You know what? You'll look at this list and go, this is the same old people.
And they're going to fix the look
It
of the game.
always is, like the same old people. It will be so ridiculous. Now, he also said that the next part will bring a group of people, and they said that they're also looking at doing some sessions with, he says, we're looking at sessions where we actually bring in some fans.
Oh!
Says it like that's this huge, they'll probably keep the fans behind a glass partition.
Yeah.
Not let them
They're allowed to wave a flag if they like an idea.
Not let them go actually touch or be in the same, breathe the same air.
Can you imagine they were in the room and they go, what about, who are those people who make all the noise when we're trying to focus on the match?
Who are the people that provide all the money and all the eyeballs that the Channel 7 will pay for? Who are they?
Poor people. What are they called?
The people outside the box.
Yeah. Oh, God, the orcs, the zombies.
The nufties.
So they allowed 1 in, did they?
Oh, no, they said they're going to let a few in for some sessions, so not like they'll have any of them on the thing. So, they'll ask them questions like, so do you like spending $17 for chips?
No, I don't like that. No.
So it's good that, in cutting down the committees, we're already adding new ones.
Yeah.
This is what happens anyone that's worked in any business knows this. Someone comes in new, they cut everything.
Yes.
And then they slowly start adding their own things until there's so much stuff that the next person comes in and goes, oh, I've got to cut everything.
Yeah. That's it. Tomorrow night, when I go to the Dogs Collingwood game, if anything goes wrong, I'm just going to get up and scream, "Where's the committee? We need a committee!"
Do you think it's going to get to the point under Hocking that if you're not on a committee, something's going really wrong? Just everyone will be on a committee at some point?
You get sacked. Not being on a committee's 2-week ban.
So they're probably going to be giving thoughts on how to fix the game and how it should look and all this sort of stuff. I don't have any idea how this is going to
I hope they're getting paid for this. I hope this is coming out of some sort of fund.
You know what? When you fund these committees, what do? They come up with ideas because they have to come up with ideas.
Yeah.
They come up with just stupid ideas.
Are you saying that a Marvel fan activation zone is not the way to solve too many players around the ball?
Well, where I'm worried about is Etihad Stadium when the AFL bought it. They're saying Marvel is sponsoring it. They're going to have all these Marvel interactive stuff there. When they announced the AFL were buying it, and AFL said we're going to do all these amazing things to open it up to the community, and one of the things they promised in their media release, almost near the top, like as the big selling point was they'd have yoga classes there. And yeah, so Serge, I always tell Serge you should do these. You know, he's always asking whether the yoga class is starting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to know how the Marvel integration with the Etihad Stadium or with the Docklands Stadium is going to affect these yoga classes.
Well, maybe you have to do
These are
some
the key
cosplay with
issues.
it. Yeah. You have to be dressed as Black Widow to get in there. Spider-Man could be good at yoga.
So anyway, that's so I'd be interested to hear what people think of who should go on the Look of the Game committee. Because
What's on the agenda? Let's send it. Do we do listener mail on this podcast? Let's start doing
people
listener
tweet
mail.
in questions all the time, so we get But,
Well, let's give the
but
specific.
no one good is going to go on this.
Well, who would be good? Would you actually like?
Well, I
someone?
actually don't mind Lee Matthews
Yeah,
on
Lee
it.
Matthews, Malcolm Blight. I'm happy. Could we send Martin Flanagan? I'd actually like him on there.
Oh yeah, just because he'd imagine Martin sitting on those committees. How annoyed he'd get though. I'd pay to be there.
Yeah, Alberti, get her in.
I reckon you need a few people who aren't in the AFL
So Beck Goddard.
bubble so much. Yeah, people have been fired. Yeah, so women.
Yeah, women, minorities. So Michael Long and Beck Goddard and Martin Flanagan. That's the look of the man. I'm happy with
Yeah,
that.
you come out with some good people. Really, I thought it should just be Gillen and Alistair Clarkson.
That's a good idea.
That would be a more accurate.
look
Because
of
they've
the
kind of
Hawthorn
got a committee there. It's already met once. Carlton, in their wisdom, have extended Brendan Bolton to the 2020 season.
Seems legit.
They sort of did this. Now he's not on a contract per se. He's actually an employee of the club. So they've just sort of extended the terms around that.
How is that? How does that change anything? Like, aren't they all employees?
Well, I think you can be on a contract, or you can actually be an employee, but you can, under certain arrangements, have a fixed term, even though you're a permanent employee.
Okay.
So they've done a few different things with Bolton. The interesting thing about it is like they sort of just went and did this, and it's come out. I think the Fairfax papers found out about it and reported it. The question is, I mean, after what Richmond did with Hardwick,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of clubs are looking at that. A lot of commentators too going, "Gee, I was pretty hard on Hardwick. Boy, did I get that wrong."
Yeah.
So they're a bit gun-shy, including me, of criticising extensions. But at the same time, there's also this belief, I think some of them think, well, if you think you've got a good coach, and Brendan Gale said this, he thought Hardwick inherited such a terrible side. He said they were absolutely rubbish.
Yeah.
And that's why they gave him extra time, because they knew. Now, you'd argue Bolton's inherited
A worse team.
an even worse mess than anything that's gone before. So you kind of go, well, is chopping and changing all the time worth it, or are we better just to back this guy in?
Man, it's a good time to be a coach, isn't it?
It is, but you've got to. I mean, I look at Buckley, and
Don't we all?
a lot of decisions I think he's made have not been great of some of the players have gotten wrong. But you got to say the list management he's experienced, which isn't all him, has been horrendous.
Yeah.
Like absolutely horrendous. So you kind of go, if you're a coach, you're very tied to things that are outside your full control.
But that's always been the case.
Yeah, but I think it's even more so as it's become more professionalised. Coaches don't have the full say on players that come play for them and stuff like it used to be. Like when, you read biographies, I was reading the Norm Smith biography again recently, and like he picked...
Is that a nightly thing for you?
Yeah, that's right. I was just saying my prayers over it. But, he was heavily involved in... Like, no players really went there without him being 100% behind it, where these days a lot of the football department will manage a lot of the long-term recruiting and planning. The coach will get a say. But it's a different sort of environment now. So, I don't know. It's just interesting. I imagine Blues fans are a bit wondering if this is a good thing or not.
Yeah, it's like everyone talks about Clarkson's apprentices, how they're all going to be, you've got Beveridge, Leon Cameron. One of them's got to be a dud. There's got to be.
This is your theory.
There's got to be the spare Hemsworth of the group. There's just, and it seems like Carlton and Brisbane hadn't won a game until 2 weeks ago, and we're both looking and going, "Oh, is that the Zeppo of the group?" I'm not sure, but now they've won games. They're both getting extensions. It's strange.
Although I would say Carlton had a lot of outs against Melbourne. Like the Kernos were both out. They had a ton of outs. So, and they did beat us in the week before. Like. Things can turn around pretty quickly. They can go pear-shaped pretty quickly too.
Yeah.
So if they can keep Cripps and, some of their other players come on, Curnow Charlie Cherno comes on like people think, things can start to turn around.
If they find the Infinity Stone that Disney's going to hide in Docklands Stadium somewhere, that could help.
That could be the main thing. So anyway, that will be interesting to see how that works. Sean Burgoyne revealed that this week when he was playing against his former teammate Luke Hodge in the loss to Brisbane that they had, that at one point Hodge tackled him, and he said he tackled me and he squeezed my nipples pretty hard in the tackle. I couldn't do anything because he tackled me from behind, so he had a little bit of venom in his tackling.
Nipple cripple. Nipple cripple's a great
Now, these are grown men.
Yeah. This is grown men that get paid lots to play football, so let's not be surprised. Hodgie's presumably been doing this probably his whole career, but Burgoyne had no idea. They're all going, he's mean.
He's horrible. Why is he doing this? I'd like to, it is kind of amusing. I'm wondering whether he does do it all the time or he just did it because it was someone he knew and knew wouldn't turn around and deck him.
Were the Hawks, when the Hawks played Sam Mitchell last year, they just went, I get it, he is annoying. I get why everyone kept punching him. Right.
Do you think Grant Hackett taught Hodgie this one?
No, Hodgie's like proper Jekyll and Hyde. He can be so evil, but have you ever met him? He's one of the most charming footy players you'll ever meet.
Well, I mean, but this is always the thing I used to like. I always love watching Jordan Lewis on AFL 360 whenever they talk about, someone's whacked someone or something. And he talks about it like he's never done it. He goes, oh, you don't like to see this. And you go, hang on. Hang on.
You don't like to see me doing that. Anyone doing this.
So it's kind of an interesting one. I think that's a interesting tactic by Hodge. I'd like to know whether he does that more regularly or this was just a one-off because he knew Burgoyne.
Yeah. Yeah, do you save nipple cripple just for your mates, or is it something a bit special?
It's one of the few workplaces in the world, the AFL, where you can do that. Yeah. And someone comes out and announces it in the media and nothing happens. Yeah. There's no HR inquiry or it's just...
If that happened if that happened in AFLW, you'd give them a week, wouldn't you? Because they're a lot more sensitive, female nipples.
Well, I don't know. I couldn't compare.
No, neither could I.
I'm not
we need a transgender listener to email in. Is that worse in AFLW?
Yeah, we need someone who can tell us a bit more about that. Yep. But I do agree. Like, you think any other workplace, if you said, I was just in this meeting and Bill came up behind me and gave me a nipple cripple, Bill's not around much longer.
It's why sport is great.
It was all in good fun. It's not all in good fun if you're a fan, though, because Adelaide Oval officials, they've banned the fan who slapped Western Bulldogs captain Easton Wood on the bum. Mm-hmm. He leant over the fence and slapped him on the bum the other week. Now, they've banned the guy. Now, he wasn't a member of the Crows, so the Crows couldn't ban him. Yep. He'd borrowed a membership ticket from a mate.
Well, it said an acquaintance.
Yeah, now they're acquaintances. They were mates, but now they're acquaintances because the guy who owned the membership ticket's been warned by the Adelaide Oval, but apparently he was by the Adelaide Crows for giving his ticket to this guy, and is apparently mortified. Mm-hmm. The other thing, this guy's been banned who actually did it. He's been banned by Adelaide Oval for the rest of the season. So, because the Crows couldn't ban him because he's not a member, but the Oval can. So he's banned for the rest of the time, so he can't go for the rest of the season.
Whenever I hear of someone getting banned by a stadium, though, like, how do they enforce it? They're not checking photo ID. You just got to...
I think unless someone...
You could grow a beard, put a baseball cap on. You could just go, Hollywood incognito. Surely you can...
Wear an Iron Man mask, you can now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just go in and cosplay. Spider-Man, Deadpool.
Well, you just get your face painted.
That works as well. Yeah.
Although I think any adult with his face painted or her face painted shouldn't be let in. Well, that should be instant. Not getting...
All right, look, everyone's sort of gone nuts on this guy because, it's not appropriate. Don't touch the players.
But we've all wanted to slap Easton Wood on the bum.
Man, hell yeah. He's ridiculously hot.
He's a beautiful man.
He's gorgeous. He is like... The only time he could be knocked from the pedestal of hottest AFL men's player is if Chris Hemsworth did pull on the Guernsey.
That's your top two if he was playing.
I think so.
That's how you're ranking him.
Yeah. Sorry, Easton. Hemsworth only because he's got a bit more muscle, but I doubt Hemsworth could play 4 quarters. It was
only a matter. We've been doing this podcast about 3 years now, and it's only a matter of time till we finally got into hottest AFL players.
Oh, really? It's taken you this long?
It really has. And
anyone who says Alex Rance, you are so wrong, because Alex Rance looks like a robot found out what handsome was and tried to draw it.
Oh, you've got strong opinions on this.
Yeah. Easton Wood, man, he's a Roman god.
Oh, give me Clayton Oliver any day.
Yeah, he's not that.
So anyway, he's been banned for a year, so don't slap a player on the bum because you'll get a year. You want it to really be worth it.
Yep.
If we think the AFL are absolutely mad and... What made you think we would do that? Yeah, this is terrible. The NFL, American football, they have adopted a new rule. Now, to give you a bit of backstory if you don't follow the NFL, a player who was the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, Colin Kaepernick, started kneeling in protest during the national anthem over there. Now, he was kneeling to show both the inequality between black and white.
The Black Lives Matter.
Well, it was both. It was African Americans, and he talked about it. I've read quite a few interviews with him, and he talked about it was partly around the way African Americans are treated by police and police brutality, and the disproportionate amount of deaths that occurred there, but also just the general different ways that African Americans are treated in America. And so he was bringing attention to all that. And other players caught on and started to kneel too. Now, the outrage of this that came out of a lot of America and certain parts of the American media was that this was unpatriotic and that these people hated... They conflate, like whenever you can't win on a topic, conflate it with another issue, which is what they did. They said, this is disrespecting the military. That's what they did, and everyone was like, and the flag and everything, but it was and everyone's like, no, he's making a point.
Yeah, and isn't kneeling?
And the military in America, and I suppose the whole point of America is free speech.
That's right,
and that's what and freedom to say what you want and do what you want, and not be, and that's the whole point of what America military is meant to be fighting for when they bang on about it. But this has been absolutely a huge problem for the NFL, and that they haven't been happy with it. They've had a lot of complaints. So they've effectively now...
Donald Trump got in on it.
Donald Trump's got in on it.
He said that he would sack anyone who knelt. But kneeling, isn't that more respectful?
Well, you could argue it is.
I reckon it is. That's pretty... Rather than standing there, occasionally people might put their hand on their heart. I think that's a bit Roman Empire. But if you kneel, I reckon that's really respectful.
See, I love in Australia, and it's changing, but the one thing I just loved about Australia is... No one used to sing the national anthem.
Yeah, I got in trouble with the Asian Cup for not singing from my mates. I'm going, it's a crap song.
But the whole thing is, like, you can be proud of your country with not... Australians were like, I'm totally proud to be Australian in many ways, but I'm not going to be like, I'm not American. I'm not like the rah-rah.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing for us,
Howard changed all this with making Australia Day voting Christmas.
I used to like the fact that you could... The whole thing of being Australian was being kind of, like... larrikin about it and being almost like the Americans are ridiculous.
Yeah, of course we're proud of our country. We don't need to bang on about it because we are proud.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah, I agree with this completely.
Well, also, like, you don't have to be like... You can like your country without having views of some of the things it does is not very good. Like, that's the whole thing here that's happening. So they've brought in this new rule that...
My wife loves me, and she's got very strong opinions on a few of the
things.
Yeah,
that's right. Anyone that's been in a marriage or a long-term relationship knows you can love someone but have strong views of flaws in the relationship.
Do you remember on Australia Day, not much used to happen? That felt more Australian.
See, that's... Australians don't get worked up about this stuff, but suddenly we're trying to be like America. It just drives me mad.
I would be more into Australia Day if our national anthem was better. It's a bit too generic. And if our flag was better.
Seriously, but also, doing nothing is what is the best thing an Australian can do. We're terrific at it, you know? Like,
you can't do it in other countries because it's too cold. We're really good at doing it here.
So they've brought in this rule in the NFL that if you basically kneel, you'll be fined. Now, for not showing respect for the flag and the anthem.
Did it give a figure and how much you get fined?
No, they haven't. Not in the bit I've read.
Because they get paid a lot.
They get paid a lot, but I think it would be significant what they actually do. Now, they've said that the players, if they do want to protest, they can just stay in the locker room.
Right.
Any players that don't want to kneel, because not every player's kneeled. But that doesn't make that's like saying, well, basically you can't protest in public. You've got to basically be out of sight, out of mind. So that's the whole thing about freedom of speech, like you're like the whole point of freedom of speech.
Dissonance must be rounded up.
Yeah. So the thing I find interesting about this is a whole bunch of people in the NFL reacted differently. Like a lot of people said, this is great, this is what we needed, these people are disrespectful. Others have said, because the NFL is 80% African American.
Is it 80%?
Yeah, 80%.
Really?
Yeah. So the idea that this is like these issues that Colin Kaepernick, who's now been run out of the league.
Oh, really? He's not playing?
Not playing, even though he's one of the better players. He'd be better than most of the quarterbacks that are around.
Where does he go then? Does he follow his
He's now basically an activist.
Parramatta Eels?
That's right. He did Jaredane, Fiji and Sevens. So he's basically had to become an activist, basically, because what's left for him.
Yep.
And I think they'll look back at him like a bit like Muhammad Ali's looked at now, where at the time his anti-Vietnam stance and everything was seen as like he was a traitor.
And the two guys who raised their hands at the Olympics.
Yeah. So now it's seen as like this amazing moral moment where the rest failed at them. And I think that will happen with Kaepernick. But the whole point of it is kind of interesting how different people reacted. So Christopher Johnson, who's the chairman and CEO of the New York Jets, and this is where a lot of the owners are sort of caught because one of them, they want to appease the Trumps of the world and a lot of their viewing public,
right?
A lot of white Americans who are like, this is disrespectful. They also have to know that most of their players are African American and totally believe in the Black Lives Matter and various other issues that are being raised. So they're sort of caught on it. So they're all reacting a bit differently. Christopher Johnson, the chairman and CEO of the New York Jets, said the team would not punish any player who chose to kneel during the anthem despite the cost.
Sweet.
And said there'll be no club fines or suspensions or any sort of repercussions. If the team gets fined because of that, he said, that's just something I'll have to bear. I'll pay it.
Well, that's good. Good on, go Jets.
Yeah, so it's interesting these mates. So it just shows you like the NFL, if anyone knows anything about the AFL, and we criticise the AFL, but the NFL can be the AFL. I mean, the NFL, they have had footage of players. Like there was one famous last year where one of the players belt the living daylights out of his girlfriend, knocked her out cold in a lift on CCTV. The NFL knew about it. It took ages for the footage to finally leak, and the reaction was nothing like the reaction to this. Nothing. They were so. They were so weak on domestic violence and family violence. They were so weak on it that, when you see, they're basically saying we care more about someone kneeling during the national anthem in protest than when a guy knocks out his girlfriend in a lift.
Yeah.
And there's been numerous cases of that.
I'm starting to think that country might be not that great. If only someone could make it great again.
Yeah, that's right.
And let's not, and that's why I'm not watching NFL. Just because of these issues.
Did you ever used to watch it?
No, so it's been really good. It's a really easy
Your protest.
I watched the Super Bowl, and look, the team I
love NFL and I've always watched it, but but the thing is, a lot of NFL fans hate Roger Goodell, the commissioner. They think he's like the worst thing's ever happened.
And why is it? It's because he's taken such a weak stance.
A weak stance on that. The
concussion stuff.
Concussion. There's a whole heap of like a litany of things about how because each NFL team is owned by billionaire owners, and he's hired by them, so he works for them. So unlike the AFL, which nominally does have a community kind of component and the clubs have a say and various things, in the NFL it's all money making and completely different things. So he's done lots of things that people have rolled their eyes at, and they're actually had some dips in their ratings recently.
I've heard that because of they're blaming it on concussion and what.
They're blaming it on concussion, they're blaming it on this stuff, the kneeling and stuff, but I think there's a lot more going.
I think in this globalised world, I think it's up to a lot of Americans just see what other sports are out there.
Do you think instead of China and India, AFL should be doing America?
Hell yeah. It's a way better sport. It's a way better sport than gridiron. Anyone who understands even a torrent of sport will understand that this is the greatest sport on earth. This is where we should hit. There's some because the North American Football League's allegedly going quite well, according to Brian Barish on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I hear that. I hear all the international.
But go Denver Bulldogs.
Well, now that China's pretty much conquered, it's time to. In a story I really enjoyed, there was a celebration of Red Star Belgrade's in Serbia. They won their 28th league title.
Well done.
Which is a great result. Now, the players were on the top of an open-top bus winding through the city, as you often see in scenes of football when someone's won a championship and they're on top of the double-decker bus. It's open, so all the fans are yelling and screaming and carrying on. And at one point, I think there was fair bit of like flares going everywhere and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, one of the players who was on top of the bus, he unwittingly set an oil spill alight, which sparked a fire that engulfed the entire bus, forcing the team onto the street amongst thousands of fans while the fire crews had to put out the bus. So they set their own bus on fire. Apparently they were very lucky to get off without anyone being injured.
I bet you Richmond fans are looking at this going, challenge accepted.
Yeah, that's right. So then but anyway, while the emergency services are putting out this bus, the players are all out on the street with all the fans, so they just continued the celebrations around the bus.
Oh, that's nice. It wasn't like Dawn of the Dead. They weren't people trying to get at them.
Apart. So that's kind of amazing, isn't it? The FFA worry about flares, but we haven't had bus go up yet.
Yeah. Thankfully, there hasn't been an oil spill from a player's hair or anything like that.
This reminds me of football. In Europe has had quite a few amazing incidences involving buses. Because they've had car accidents.
Real Madrid dropped the Copa del Rey off the top.
And the bus ran over it. Yeah. There's been other ones where like windows have been shattered by other fans. I remember there was one where, I forget, I saw it recently where the team on its victory tour went into the wrong neighbourhood. Oh. And so it was the opposite team's fans and they just pelted the bus. One of my favourite, I think it was Crystal Palace. They were playing, I think...
Okay, this is a lie. They don't win anything.
No, but it wasn't... They weren't celebrating. It was just the normal team bus to get to
catching the bus.
No,
because they couldn't afford to drive.
No, so Crystal Palace had their bus that they just had hired to take the players to the game, right? Yep. And so, I think they own it. So they drive to the game. Players get out, go inside. They park the bus. Bunch of Crystal Palace fans see this bus there and think it's the Middlesbrough bus.
I think it was Middlesbrough.
This. And so they tag it and write Crystal Palace all over it and totally damage the bus. Cost something like 40 grand in damage. And it's their own bus.
Yeah.
And the head of Crystal Palace is like, you idiots, you just cost us a fortune. So there's a rich tradition of things involving buses that you don't get in the AFL.
See, it's time for a reboot of the old sitcom On the Buses, but it's all about the football teams.
Now, getting to round 10, previewing. Now, your team, for some unexplicable reason, has got Friday night footy.
Back to back.
With Collingwood. Yeah, you had it last week, didn't you?
We did, where we scored 2 goals.
Oh, you were woeful.
14 points. So our behinds outscored our goals. That doesn't happen often.
I watched that whole game and I was just like, if Eddie Betts wasn't playing, I would have probably turned it off.
Oh, and it was kind of interesting because of the torrential rain. It was proper wet weather, old school footy.
You guys were handballing like...
Yeah, I didn't say it was good, proper old school footy.
You weren't playing old school footy. You were doing more handballing than you normally do. It was bizarre.
Well, because our feet were stuck to the ground.
Why were you doing that? Have you rung Bevo?
Yeah, I did ring Bevo, and he reminded me of the restraining order, so I don't know.
He's meant to be a premiership coach, and I'm watching it going... Even I know that you don't handball more in the wet.
Titus, I've said repeatedly what's happened is the players are protesting the banners being crapped.
Yeah, it was obviously. So it's Collingwood versus the Bulldogs at Etihad Stadium.
It's weird. It's Collingwood's home game, but it's on our turf.
Yeah, and there's no game at the MCG.
Yeah, it's odd.
Actually, there's only one game at the MCG this weekend.
Yeah, is there a concert on or something?
There's Richmond and St Kilda. No, I don't think there's anything.
And then there's
the bye week.
Yeah.
So there's buys for the Gold Coast and Port Adelaide. So it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever that this is there. I'll have to look. I'll have a bit of a look if there's a reason, but it's the AFL scheduling department.
Yeah.
So Collingwood Bulldogs. Collingwood got it.
We haven't lost to Collingwood since 2013, so we've had a pretty good run against them. I don't think so. Luke Beveridge has never lost to them.
Are you going to try and score goals tonight? Tomorrow night?
Tomorrow. Oh, yeah. Scoring goals is so old school. We are breaking down barriers in the way.
I think Ross Lyon's already broken those barriers.
Yeah, that's true. We're not going to score goals. We're also not going to play anyone over the age of 24. That's just unheard of by the Bulldogs. We've still got the youngest list, but we're still going to win by 10 goals. I mean, it's so exciting.
So we used to laugh when that journalist said, have you ever thought of getting Will Minson back?
Yeah.
But it's never been the same.
I think Dale Morris might be coming back for his first game of the year. So
can you beat Collingwood?
Of course we can. Probably not.
I think I'm going to potentially tip Collingwood there.
Yeah, I would if I wasn't a Dogs fan, but of course I'm backing the Dogs. 10-goal win. Here we go.
Now, Richmond are playing St Kilda at the MCG. It's 1:45, so an odd time. I can't see Richmond, after losing last week, being too interested in losing to St Kilda.
No, but there is a couple of factors that Saints fans can be optimistic about. Oh, by the way, where's Francis?
Where is he?
Yeah.
He did tell me. I think he's in jail or something.
Oh, okay.
He did tell me he had something on. I think he's gone interstate.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
He's getting ready for his Russian trip, so there's something dodgy going on, I'm sure.
I thought it was just general St Kilda malaise. And as we always say, if you or anyone you know is a St Kilda fan, Lifeline is 13 11 14.
We get complaints every time you do that.
Do we?
No, I'm joking. But the thing about it is, like, you'd understand if, like a St Kilda, Francis just hasn't shown up.
But two things. So Richmond played in Perth Sunday night. Yeah. So that's a 5-day break.
Yeah.
Coming back from Perth. Also, St Kilda had a bit of the media blowtorch this week, and that worked for Essendon. So there's a bit of hope, Saints fans. Bit of hope.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tip them.
See, the thing with St Kilda is I look at them and there's players they've got that are not terrible players, but are playing, like, their confidence is just so shot.
Yeah.
And so you just never know. Like a bit like Essendon, if something clicks for them, they suddenly it can turn around. But that said, I can't say I'm losing to Richmond. I'd be shocked. I mean, I am regularly wrong, I will add. Someone wrote in and said they like to listen to my part of previewing the round after the round's happened because it's funnier. Which is true.
I think I'm going to get my 4-year-old to do my tips now. It's just easy. I reckon, you know how hard it is to get tip 9 anymore. Like, it's pretty much impossible.
But the whole secret of footy is none of us know anything really.
Is that the secret?
Well, everyone that pretends they know anything.
I thought it was that the look of the game committee were all lizard people.
I thought it's actually fixed. It's actually like WWE. Well, that's the real secret. But
I understand.
Don't say that.
But I reckon if you tip 9, you know how you win a Whopper? If you tip 9.
Do you?
Yeah, well, it used to be on one of the footytipping.com. You get sponsored by Hungry Jack's, you won a Whopper. I think you should just get a store. You get a Hungry Jack's franchise if you tip 9.
Rare. Brisbane play Sydney at the Gabba. Now, Brisbane coming off their famous victory last week against Hawthorn.
I would not want to be Isaac Heaney's nipples this week. And it's rare I say that.
What do you reckon there?
Sydney.
I reckon Sydney are going to win there. Although Brisbane are starting to put together all the pieces, which is quite nice to see. Geelong play Carlton.
At Cardinia.
Now, I can't get past how bad Carlton were against Melbourne.
Can you not? You couldn't just enjoy the win?
It was, I know, I said it earlier, they had a lot of outs, but wow, the way that Melbourne just, I mean, a lot of people say Melbourne were amazing and all that, but I'm like, the way Melbourne, the lack of pressure across the whole field, Melbourne's ability to basically slowly walk it out of their defensive 50 and forward.
But this is exactly what Essendon did to Geelong.
Yeah, but it was just...
Who was worse last week, Geelong or Carlton?
Oh, Carlton.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
Carlton were just... I mean, Geelong were bad, but Carlton were just... It was something else. I knew they had a lot of outs, but it was just... It reminded me of the depth of the Mark Neeld era under Melbourne. I'm not even making that up.
Let's not say things we can't take back.
No, it was that just complete and utter lack of effort everywhere. Like, I remember once watching remember when, I think this is actually under Bailey, but it happened under Neil too, but there was a game where the week before Melbourne lost to Geelong by the record score, it was like 187 to something, 30 or whatever it was. The week before we played Hawthorn at the G, and we should have lost by as much than Melbourne back then, but Hawthorn basically took the foot off the pedal for the second half, right, because it was all over. And my brother and I were there, and we're watching it, and we're going, let's watch and see how long it is until we notice a Melbourne player breaking out of a jog. And about 10 minutes go past, and then we finally see one sprinting at full speed. Okay, there's one.
To get off the ground.
So, and I remember that just burnt into my mind, right? Like, just not running at full pace. Like, just no one.
And that was Carlton?
And Carlton reminded me of that game. Like, I just was like, where is the movement? It was just unbelievable.
Well, Bulldogs were doing that a bit on Friday night, but that's because if we ran too fast, we drowned.
So I'm tipping Geelong there. I mean, Carlton might get a few back, but but Geelong are a mystery.
They really are. They're an enigma wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in a tortilla. It's I don't know. I've been on them and I've been off them. But yeah, they'll win this game, but that's not saying anything.
Greater Western Sydney take on Essendon. This is up at Greater West at Spotless Stadium.
Surely the Giants will bounce back.
That's a terrible Saturday night. We've got Geelong, Carlton, and GWS Essendon.
Yeah. Oh. I'm actually hosting a charity function for brain cancer, which is a shit way of getting paid. So I will not be watching either of those. Suddenly, I'm happy to be talking about brain cancer.
Working for free. So Greater Western Sydney, Essendon. Now, Essendon have suddenly turned their season around, apparently. I'm not convinced about Essendon, but I'm also not very convinced about the Giants. Now, the Giants lose this, and I reckon they're done for finals. They're 11th now.
I reckon done for Cameron. Surely they'll bring in another coach.
Well, they've got a lot of injuries, but you have to, beyond that, you have to, look at how the rest have played, and it's been pretty poor.
Yeah.
Imagine the story if they miss finals this year. Like, the team that for the last 2-3 years everyone has predicted is going to win the... Yeah. Everyone had predicted 5 years ago, it was within the next 5 years window, GWS will win at least one flag. And I remember some Victorian commentators saying stuff like, they're going to win 5 in a row. It's going to... For them to now potentially miss... Now, everyone will say, well, if they get all their players back and click, they're insanely good. But you're like, I haven't seen that. We often mentally, when someone isn't playing well, it takes you a while to adjust your mind and going, actually, I think they just might not actually be good. You know what I mean? It takes you a while, click that to click.
It's there's a thing in the TV show How I Met Your Mother called the cheerleader effect, where if you get a bunch of average-looking women together, but they stand together, you think they're all really hot. It's terribly sexist. I was outraged. I turned off the TV.
Right,
but I think that might be happening with GWS. You put all these okay players next to each other, and they look quite intimidating as a pack. But then once you pick them off, they're not so great. And then Toby Green punches you in the face.
But it comes back to footy is just the number one thing on footy is it's a team game and you need everyone playing at a really high level.
These are the Titus bombshells for this podcast. No, but that's the number one thing is it's a team game. Number two, it's run by lizard people.
Everyone focuses on individual players' stats. They're not getting enough off this and they're not going. If Richmond won the premiership last year they probably didn't have the best list. They had a very good list, but when you watch them play against Adelaide, every single player was going 100%. They were tackle. They all wanted to tackle. They all wanted to run. They all wanted to pressure. They did everything with or without the ball, right? That was the difference. And footy's always been that. If you're a team that does all plays with that level of intensity, which is hard to do every week.
The cliche, Titus. Come on.
No, but that's
a team of champions can't beat a champion team.
But the reason I say that about AFL is that's not the case in every sport, right? You drop LeBron James into any team in the NBA. As we're seeing with Cleveland at the moment, and they'll go. You could put him in the worst team tomorrow,
the Knicks,
and you could put him on the Knicks, and the Knicks were better before Porzingis got injured. But if you put him on any of the really terrible teams, by the next season they're playing finals at a minimum.
Could LeBron
that doesn't happen in AFL. Look, Carlton got Chris Judd. It didn't make him win rattle off 5 premierships or anything.
No, made him win more Brownlows because he stood out more.
Yeah, that's right. So this is my point. That's the thing. You got to have that, and that's where these teams just drop off, and people focus on individuals or key stats or anything. But you really go, no, the team is not working properly.
Could LeBron save the Melbourne Tigers?
He'd do all right in the NBL. You think he could cut it?
I know, and by the way, to save your I know Melbourne United won the league, but it's not the Melbourne Tigers.
Right. So
God rest them.
So anyway, I don't know who could win that one out of the Giants and Essendon. I'd say Giants. But I'm not that confident. If Essendon remember how to play like they did last week, Hawthorn play West Coast in Etihad Stadium.
That'll be a great game. It's bafflingly at Marvel Stadium.
We're moving there already.
I'm just trying it out. Just trying it on. It should be an MCG, so we can see if West Coast still have that curse. But it'll be a great game. I think West Coast will win.
See, why is that not at the MCG?
I have no idea. This is my point.
So Hawthorn, West Coast. West Coast were terrific last week. With Darling is obviously playing out of his skin. I'm not sure after watching Hawthorn play last week. I mean,
they lost to Brisbane by 10 goals.
Yeah, I would have once said this was a dead set cert for Hawthorn a few weeks ago, but now I'm not so sure.
No, West Coast haven't lost since round 1.
Well, also West Coast have won. I think they've played 3 on the road and won 3.
Yeah.
So while I would like to be lazy and trot out the cliche that they can't win on the road, it hasn't really been working. So I might even tip West Coast there. Melbourne play Adelaide. It's at Traeger Park in Alice Springs, which is part of the fun of Melbourne always selling games to the Northern Territory. Instead of playing one of the top sides in their home game, we have to go over there.
Yep.
Which is ridiculous. Now, Adelaide still have a lot out. Now, Melbourne, to me, this is an important game in Melbourne. Melbourne have rattled off 4 wins against North was a decent enough side, but the rest are rubbish. The bottom, I think it's like the bottom, all in the bottom 5. And belted them all, which, is pleasing because Melbourne used to not even do that. I mean, people are starting to say, Melbourne might be flat track bullies. And I'm like, I dream of us being flat. Yeah. I used to dream of this because that would be better than where we were. But I think they lost. They really got belted by Richmond and Hawthorn, Melbourne.
That's right.
So has the team changed with Tom McDonald coming back in?
Alice Springs traditionally.
We've not always great.
You usually play.
We've
Port,
won a few. We play. We usually play Port. We also play up in Darwin.
Right.
It's been a bit mixed, but then also Melbourne have been terrible everywhere they've played. So you can't really for a long time. So I'm being very interested if you think with Adelaide have got Sloan out, Walker's out again. They got a lot of outs.
Yeah.
So if Melbourne can't get it done this week, you then start to really wonder.
But as the Crows proved against the Bulldogs, their reserve side is pretty good.
That's a Bulldogs, though.
How dare you?
You lost to a Sandful side.
We did.
and badly.
Yeah, okay. Move on. So, Freo v North Melbourne over at... you've put PS there. Is that
Patterson Stadium?
No,
that was
it's not Subiaco.
Yeah, Optus Stadium. Optus Stadium.
Perth Stadium. Maybe you've got it as
Perth Stadium, sorry. I had it, before it became Optus Stadium. So...
North are good, man. That's been my mantra all year.
My whole thing, like watching Freo, I mean, it's different over there. Freo against the Swans were just appalling.
Yeah, they were.
And they don't have a forward line.
Yep.
And since you said
North have nothing but a forward line.
Since you said Ben Brown is better than Tom Lynch.
I have, yes.
Tom Lynch has basically not played.
How convenient.
And Ben Brown has been probably the best forward probably in the game.
I'm a very vindictive man. I broke Tom Lynch's knees just to prove you wrong.
Well, I mean, I think Tom Lynch is a superstar when he's but you got to say Ben Brown just. I mean, Ben Brown.
He's next level this year.
But Ben Brown is just what I like about Ben Brown is not only is he like great player, everyone likes him.
Oh, he's the most likable player in the league.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
So North have got a real... So it's going to be a shame when some other club pinches him.
Yeah, but look, something about the big fro just works with the orange and charcoal.
Yeah. But I like North this year. I reckon... Not only because they didn't, but everyone else set the bar, including myself, that they were going to be almost the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
And so not only are we all looking like idiots, but also it just, we're disproportionately impressed because we had them so low. But they just do all the basic stuff right.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're as good as some of the other top teams and stuff, but as they showed against Sydney, you got to beat them. They won't let you beat them.
Yeah,
like you've got to. They won't just stuff up.
I think they'll make finals. North. I don't think they'll win a final, but I think they'll make finals.
See, they're a team that I would hate to meet in the finals.
Oh yeah, just they knocked out Richmond last time they were there a couple of years ago.
But I mean, this current team, like, you're not gonna. They don't strike me as flaky.
Like, no, they've got so you better show arrogance.
That's what I mean. You better show up because they're going to go hard. Now they might not have the talent if you show up too and are really good, but it's not you're not going to have an easy day. I reckon, with them.
When was the last time Melbourne played finals?
2006.
Wow, 12 years.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks for bringing that
Who was
up.
your last? What was it? Prelim? Semi?
What was our last one? I think it was semi. Yeah, it wasn't like a...
Bulldogs got knocked out in the semis in 2006 too by West Coast.
Yeah, that was a long time. I can barely bloody remember it now.
Oh, right.
I can remember every moment. I've got every memory of the last 12 years. I remember every bit of that.
You've told it to your therapist several times over.
It's been terrible. Oh, anyway, on that note, we'll be back next week. You don't have anything to plug, do you? Are you doing anything?
I'm doing this. I should promote this brain cancer gig. If you don't want to watch the the two terrible games on Sunday night, I'm hosting a thing at not Flemington, Kensington. It's called A Splash of Yellow. It's supporting brain cancer. It's not supporting brain cancer. It's
against it.
We just cannot make that clear enough. We are anti-brain cancer. We're raising money for there to be a fellowship into finding a cure for a certain type of tumor. So just type in A Splash of Yellow into Google.
And are you emceeing?
I am emceeing, and there's some great bands on. And
good.
Yeah, it should be good fun.
Well, thanks for the invite.
So I should get you free tickets.
I get free. Is it free drink?
It is for you. Yeah. Every beer you have puts another kid in death's door.
On that note, we'll see you next week.